I had a feeling that somebody that I talked to at the hospital was having a bad day today, maybe back in the hospital. And I'm kind of an unusual person, so looking for somebody like me is not likely to result in any finding. Um, I don't know if, that's just a, early morning thought or something like that. But I found that when I teach people Om Ahung, that I connect with them. Sometimes some people are good at stabilizing that connection, being kind of an aloof person to begin with, and this is really what it's made for. Other people, because I'll teach somebody just for walking with me, if they walk with me for a while, or if they sit in front of me and trying to look like they're meditating or something, I'll teach it to them. But sometimes I need to like back away from some of these people. Other people are more likely, have the same sense of space, similar. I have a comprehensible sense of space to me, so that they are more comfortable sitting in the zone where it seems more casual, and that is paradoxical in that it tends to lead to more instruction. Um, so. And some of us have multiple settings. So my guru was experienced with this kind of thing. He had overcome being a very aloof person, learning how to engage with other people, and some of these techniques that he learned were family specific, and I'm not able to teach them. But what I am able to teach is that body, speech, and mind also correspond to, grasping or greed, anger, and ignorance. Your mind is always ignorant. Your speech is the fire chakra anyway. Fire is anger. And we speak loudest when we're angry, usually. If we're going to have spontaneous speech, no matter what's going on, it usually tends to be an angry outburst. And body is related to speech, which is related to desires and wanting, and you want what you see. Sometimes if you end up in the hospital, it tends to deplete your accumulations. So whatever you were doing before you were in the hospital, you got in a zone. Maybe you stopped paying attention to something or another that started to misfire, and you didn't notice, but people around you noticed. When you go to the hospital, you're going to have to build a new ground. Every time you end up in the hospital, you have to build a new ground. You don't have to start over 100% with your, but there is a feeling that you get. A lot of times, you get a little high on your accumulations, and that high will just gone when you end up in the hospital. It's not waiting for you when you get back home. You have to rebuild, and you'll have to rebuild something different. So just keep doing things to accumulate. If you were hanging around or something like that, there's a couple other things I could teach. I would introduce you to my guru, who's dead, but you could do his chant, because he's a bookworm. And that's one of the things he wanted me to do, was to introduce him to people who are learning through books. As far as going to retreats and things like that goes, the people in the retreats are kind of harsh, I've found. They don't like the idea of these techniques being associated with mental health. Now, there might be different things, but if you look at Tibetan, if you ever see Tibetan gatherings for monastic occasions and things like that, where they show you the children, In a regular secular gathering, if you ever see one of those, the children all have about the same head shape, about the same facial features. If you look at the monk children, they have odd head shapes, odd facial features, and the monks and stuff tend to be unusual people. So in the West, you don't see the unusual people, the Westerners, unusual Westerners associating with these traditions publicly. But in private, we read a lot. So my guru is the book guru. And I'll just say that I do the Longchenpa chant. So Om Lamani Oshul Siddhi Aham. Om Lamani Oshul Siddhi Aham. I call them Lamani Oshul Siddhi because we're kind of asking for magical powers. You can leave off Siddhi. Om Lamani Oshul Aham. Om Lamani Oshul Kin Rinpoche. Or variations on that. If I don't know if I suggested the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. Is really not written by Sagyal Rinpoche, but he was associated with it. And my guru's picture is in there. But you can also read things from the Kempo brothers, because he was one of them, and all sorts of things. I don't know if that's the right flavor, though. But the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying is a good one if I didn't suggest that before. It's at a good entry level. And then it introduces to the mantras Om Mani Padme Hum and Om Aham Benzaru Pima Siddhi Hum. And those two mantras are in there. And so you see that Om Aham is the beginning mantra that is added to a lot of other things. Like some people write Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, and some people write it Om Ani Padme Hum. So it's different in different places. I think mostly it's written Om Mani, but I've seen it wrote Om Ani.